Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the second Liberalists UK live stream. I am joined tonight by Steve, also known as Tensler on here, who is our treasurer, by Ben Brown, who you are obviously well aware of as one of the key faces of the Liberalists UK, and I am Mark, the head of marketing, obviously. So welcome to another one. Please feel marketing, yeah. Please feel free to insert your questions into the chat box. We will be taking them throughout the stream and hoping to answer them as we go. We've received less to no questions on the actual post about the live stream today, but we will be talking over the stuff that we covered last time, talking about what we've achieved in the last sort of month or so, talking about what our next sort of short-term plans are for the coming month. So that's generally what we're going to be going for. The first order of business for this evening has to be about universities, which I'm glad to have Ben here, who's obviously our university lead. And talking, yes, funnily enough, you are. And talking about basically what progress is being made on the university front, because obviously our goal is to get people into university societies across the country. So basically the bureaucracy that's gone on behind that, the difficulties with the time of year, and what we're going to do to sort of move forward in that position. Take it away, Ben.
So I've had some extremely proactive chaps that have given me a hand. So I've been doing some other back-end stuff at the moment. And these guys have managed to devise a long document, over 4,000 words, setting up a constitution for liberalist societies, and also a system for the liberalist societies to operate on a national level, which is something alongside what I had in mind that I was devising. But these guys have really gone ahead and got the work sorted. So I've given them a deadline of Sunday to get the document sent to me, and then we can work through it on the back end to just kind of see if there's any tweaks that we need to make based on our understanding of how things are going and so forth. But overall, it seems that we are just full steam ahead, getting everything in place, getting an idea of a structure. And by September, I should have a complete university toolkit for people that want to set up a university society, how to do it, how to appeal to the Students' Union, how to use their language, and so forth. I was supposed to have an event sorted out this year, but sadly, due to Students' Union at my university being a little bit slow, we didn't get it set up for this year, so we're going to set it up now for next year. But the event itself is, I have got a rough template for it at the moment. I'm looking to finalize to be a template to be sent around to everyone, so then they know how to promote this event to their universities, so their societies don't question it and worry about it. It uses lovely words like diversity, inclusivity, and the events themselves focus on working with other societies, like other political societies. And it doesn't try to set itself up as a partisan event, only an event that focuses on things like free speech, which seems to be the key focus that we want to go for when it comes down to the university campaigns.
Thank you very much. David Grant asks in the chat, when and where is the Manchester meetup? Unfortunately, due to a lack of general interest in the official Manchester event, where it looks like we've only got up to about 60 people going, we've had to move it, but it is still going ahead. Is happening at, if I pull up the Facebook event,
it starts at 5 p.m.
Starts at 5 p.m. It's at the Moon Underwater Weatherspoons Deansgate in Manchester. Still really worthwhile going to meet people. We have 3 of the management who are going: Simon Hopkinson, Joel, and Ben, all going to be able to make it. Unfortunately,
I'm also going.
And Steve's also going. Unfortunately, I can't make it this time. But it's the next one. We'll hope to sort that out soon. But hopefully that answers your question on that one. It is in 2 days' time. It's on Saturday.
And I'm going to be visiting the North for the first time, so I don't know whether I should go armed or not because I'm not familiar with the North. It's an area of the country that I've only heard in whispers.
I think you should always bring your arms with you wherever you go, in case you need to open doors or drive.
I will be driving, so that's thank you.
Yep. Awful jokes. Anyway, university side of things. Yeah, are we planning on doing anything? So is there a society? This is all at University of Hertfordshire. You're trying to push for at the moment, isn't it, Ben?
Well, the event itself is at the University of Hertfordshire. I have contacts with Hearts Liberty, who one of the members, Amai, actually attended our event. But they're very classical liberal in the way that they shape themselves from what I've spoken to them. And our campus, as I always bang on about, is a green free speech one. So I thought it would be the perfect campus to actually pilot what we're looking to do. But because we didn't get it done in time, I'm actually going to have the template sorted before September anyway, to see if other people can push this event to their universities. Because really, the event that I've set up and the way that I've sort of designed it and stuff is around a discussion of free speech that welcomes societies of the LGBT variety, Labour Society, people like that, as well as the sort of more right-wing end, sort of conservative and so forth. And the idea of the society event is to have a representative as chosen by different sort of sections of politics, so more socialisty Labour candidate, more sort of classical liberal candidate, and then also look into inviting someone from, say, Spiked or someone like that onto the panel, because they're the ones that devise the university ranking system, and talk about the idea of free speech, just to get students talking about it, not necessarily to force free speech down the throats. However, the idea is as well as to have examples of where maybe some universities have gone wrong, to the point where they have actually stomped on their own students for just wanting to have a discussion.
Yeah. I've just seen that Liberalists UK, who is actually Joel, our chair, has just arrived. Say hello, Joel.
Good evening. Hopefully you can still hear me.
Yeah, certainly can. Joel had some audio issues, which is why he wasn't in earlier, but now we've got him. Next on our list of things that we're trying to do, it was the Manchester event, which has given us pause for future events to think about sort of where we want to go, how we want to advertise, how we can get the ball rolling when it comes to that, whether or not the lack of interest this time was due to a lack of marketing, whether or not it was a lack of guests, etc. We've basically come up with the idea that we're going to ensure that we have at least one speaker for future events going forward. The obvious reasoning behind this means that we have some draw. It means people feel like they're going to be able to get out of bed for it, and travel sort of a distance so that they can hear someone speak, as well as just meet people, which I think is beneficial. We're also going to try and maintain sort of momentum and have as many members of the management team on at each further event as we can. We think that's the best way to do it, so that you get used to us, you get used to seeing us. We have had some little bit of teething issues on the back end. We're now completely focused on a new strategy for events. So we're sort of pushing out the sort of let's all have a relaxed party atmosphere and that sort of thing, and rely on perhaps Sargon and that sort of thing to get us there. We will be inviting guests like Sargon along, but we want our events to stand on their own 2 feet, and we want them to be sort of self-propelling, advertising, as it were, in terms of there's something that we want people to want to be able to talk about without necessarily that kind of sort of star power.
We will be. The thing is, with the back end stuff, we've kind of we've sort of focused more on how we would look at creating our own Liberalists UK media wing, because we do want to have our own articles and things from a UK perspective. We want to have we want to actually use the principles to help us devise articles to challenge our own political landscape here at home. And we want to invite people to actually contribute to that as well. Once we've got the system completely in place, we will make sure that we tell you how you can assist us and how we can assist you as well, because we want this to be a community of people that contribute and help each other, and we all so passionate about the cause and the country that we all live in. We're just getting a system in place, and we will be delivering that information to you as soon as possible. We're just getting the mechanics of it working first and figuring out how we're going to do this.
Yeah, indeed. Anything else to jump in on that, either Steve or Joel?
I guess another big issue with events is funding. So it'll get a little difficult to do big things or book out places for lots of people.
That leads us on nicely then to the idea of funding. Steve has been very graciously setting up our accounts for us.
We're nearly there.
Yeah, we are nearly there. We have all the paperwork is in. We're just sorting out the forms for our signatories, at which point the accounts will go live. And then we will be debating with the community, because we're not just going to push something out there without it being basically proposed and developed by the community, keeping that bottom up sort of feel to it. We will be talking about the idea of subscriptions and donations and that sort of thing. But as soon as we get these signatories done, we will let you know, and we will keep up on it. Yeah, there's that side. Does anyone in the chat have any questions for us at this time? Because that covers pretty much everything that was given to us from last time. In terms of further questions, I can go into some stuff that I've been doing on the page, but other than that, no. Okay, well then I'll go on to the stuff that I've seen on the page. So I put out, you may have noticed in the last couple of days, there have been some threads specifically talking about things like UKIP, talking about things like basically the immigration questions and that sort of thing. Let me try and find thread. Yeah, talking about a manifesto, talking about the forum, talking about what place memes have in our marketing, etc. Talking about multiculturalism, regional groups, UKIP, etc., etc. We really want to become a lot more. Is the Liberalist subreddit run by any of you guys? No, the subreddit is not run by any of the Liberalists UK, as far as I'm aware. Not in an official capacity, anyway.
I can clarify that.
Yeah, go on, Steve.
The Reddit for Liberalists is run by the LIA group, which is one of the international groups. So they are mostly in charge of that. And if you want anything updated, we can certainly pass any information to them or make requests of them, as we certainly are on a good relationship with them. And I'm certain if you've got any suggestions or feedback, we'd certainly be able to take that on board and see that change brought through.
Yeah. On the positive side, talking about the relationships we have with other Liberalist groups, we now have some really strong connections with the Liberalist International Association, or the LIA. We now have connections with the USA Liberalists. We're very familiar with their leaders, Nico and Elizabeth. And we are also sort of, again, trying to distance ourselves and ensure that we are distinct enough from the Liberalist Society Facebook group, which is the original international group, which sort of everyone seems to have splintered off from. They're doing their own thing. We're not really involved with that anymore. Let me see. Go ahead, Steve. You said you wanted to talk about activism.
Yes, we're looking to take on more like a big activism project soon. And we would be happy to hear anyone's ideas on how they might do that. If they've got any activism they think could be done in their area, we're happy to work out the details. If you've got the idea, then let us hear it, and we'll see how feasible it is.
Or post it in the group, or post a question asking for ideas in the group, so we can all discuss it together. That'd be good too.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. Thoughts on Sargon Dank and PJW joining UKIP and Sargon's ... trouble? If you're referring to a letter that appeared to have been posted refusing Sargon entry, that has been confirmed now to be fake. We don't know anything further than that. When it comes to the UKIP question, we had a meeting about this last night. We all got together and we were having a chat about where we wanted to go with the UKIP side of things, why and why not. UKIP may or may not be the right choice for us. And we came to the conclusion that we are not going to actively encourage people to join UKIP at this time for a couple of reasons. One of which being that basically all of UKIP's senior management has left in the wake of the referendum. They see their job as done. UKIP is also set up unlike any other UK party. It's set up for European regions rather than constituencies, and is unsuited for sort of general parliamentary action, that sort of thing. So the other thing is that UKIP is very poor at sorting out local branches. So if you want to sort out a local branch, you want to set one up, they will not let you do it without their say so and without their quote unquote help. And secondly, they are, because of the way they're divided, there's no representation per constituency. It's almost entirely on European regions. So it means that if you are to go for a position in the sort of actual cause and effect side of UKIP, then you have to be doing it on this European issue, which obviously with Brexit seems to be difficult. The UKIP manifesto is really relatively solid for the most part. Certainly is a little bit of room for improvement in there, which a strong voting bloc could do to change. But the difficulty is we don't see UKIP as being a powerhouse when it's lost all of its sort of political impetus, as we've seen in the last election, and it's lost all of its senior members who were pushing for that impetus, who would otherwise have been elected. That's the main thing. It's happening though, right? 10k in 12 hours, right? So the issue is not with the numbers involved. Also, the 10k figure has been called somewhat into questionable because a lot of foreign people have joined up as well. There's a lot of for instance, the UKIP Liberalists group on Facebook, which we are not associated with, basically is run by a group of Americans, which has caused some consternation. We've had a lot of backlash from members of the community who are saying, why on earth is this going on? Why is a UKIP, a UK-centric party being, UK-centric liberalist page being run by Americans and that sort of thing? They could do what they want, really not bothered. This looks like there's only really about 1,000 UK people who want to identify as liberalists who are in that group. So 1,000 people, it sounds like a lot of people, but in terms of these kinds of numbers, not really. And the group itself seems to be entirely composed of the usual brand of shitposter. So unfortunately, we just don't see it as a viable project at the moment.
It's fair to say that the philosophy we spoke about was more focusing on the principles in their purity, and how we would focus on having if people want to join parties and represent the liberalist principles within those parties, they're welcome to. If there are if there's any MPs within a party that represent the principles, we'll support them, or at least support them in their supporting of our principles. The problem is because we've got our political compass test that shows people on the left and the right. We know there are people that like UKIP, that dislike UKIP. For us, we want to focus more on the activist side of things and holding people to the principles, no matter what political party they belong to. The problem is if you, and this is my personal opinion now, but if you stick the principles into UKIP and you make UKIP the liberalist party, then what you have is a party to be argued against, which means that people will be arguing against the principles. And I believe that the whole political spectrum in the UK needs fixing. and to have the liberalist principles placed just in the UKIP area, it means the liberalists become associated with UKIP, which, as much as we know what UKIP are or are not, the general public who aren't necessarily as engaged will always put UKIP into a certain box that will not be easily changed.
Well, not interested. Well, even then, on that side, we're not really interested in the optics side of UKIP. Certainly from the marketing side, I'm not really that bothered, seeing as they're restructuring themselves and they're trying to get themselves away from Farage, which is interesting given that many of the people who've rejoined, are trying to entice Farage back. But also the idea that the internal makeup of the party is not suited for purpose in the way that we want it to be. So that's that. If you believe personally that UKIP is the best chance to try and break things, by all means, go ahead. At the moment, we want to be a lot more sort of internally focused. We want to be really reinforcing what our community ideals are. We want to be looking at local activism and that sort of things, and getting people. Yeah, they're not the best chance, but they're the easiest. I think that's quite clear. They have a membership base of about 20,000 now, 30,000, which is significant. But I wonder. I'm waiting for the stats basically on how much the influence goes. I don't have masses of hope for it. I wish them all the best of luck, but I also don't see that as being the right direction for the Liberalists UK official stance. That's all. Lovely. Anyone else have anything to add on that?
No, you mainly said it all. We don't want to take an official stance encouraging or discouraging it. After polling and talking to people about it and asking them, there's quite an even split between for and against. We don't want to alienate either side because we want to be open for all liberalists who, UKIP or not, they're welcome because we all stand for the same principles at the end of the day.
Yeah.
We also want to win the people over that maybe are not liberalists at the moment. The people that, I mean, I always make this point to people that a lot of us used to watch things like the Young Turks, and quite a few people had their moment where they broke away from the Young Turk mentality. They had something that broke their conditioning. We can be that group that breaks conditioning of people, but we can't if we're already put into a box with UKIP. It's not so much about focusing overly with the optics, but it's also making sure that we are principles based in a way that people can actually question us on our principles and not think, yeah, but you also assign with this and this. It's a balancing act, I think.
Yeah, but and that side of things. When it comes to sort of actually what kind of activism we do want to be getting up to, a lot of this is going to be determined at the end of this week. We have a meeting to talk to each other about sort of larger campaigns for the next week. How careful / aware are you guys of succumbing to the vision of the anointed top down, telling the general public how to be free, etc.? Well, quite aware. I'm reading Vision of the Anointed at the moment, actually. So interesting point to say there. But the point of the point of it is that we want to be very community focused. Again, as we say, we are polling our community relatively frequently. We really want to push for sort of the community to be driving all of the decisions that are made, to really be the ones who make the final decision when stuff gets proposed. And stuff like this and Tommy Robinson has proven to be so divisive that we've got to the point where we're saying, if you want to go off and do this, that's fine, but it's not something that we can do as an official stance to say that we are representing our members, because it's not representing our members, and that sort of thing. The Brexit march.
Some of our members are attending. Some of us in the north who can't make it have a Brexit-themed small event going on in Manchester.
Have you guys tried to get in more mainstream speakers? The plan with mainstream speakers is yes, we would like to get some more mainstream speakers in, Douglas Murray, that sort of thing. However, funding is an issue at the moment. So this is all sort of backed up behind. As soon as we can get the accounts done, then we can start doing that sort of thing and really pushing and saying, you know, we really want to get this person here and we need to do that. What is happening with Manchester? The Manchester event is still going on in the evening. I've put a link to it earlier in the chat. We're
having a meetup and discussion at, is it called the Moon Down Under, Wetherspoons?
Yeah, that's the one.
Moon Underwater.
Moon Underwater, yeah, that's the one. Has anyone considered focusing on an area which historically the Liberal roots once held? Yeah, so this is all stuff that's going to come up this weekend when we have a little conference about what big campaign we're going to settle on, and that may be trying to get local government involved and that sort of thing, and it may be another thing, but I can't confirm anything on that.
I can't speak too much into this because it's only because of at the first event we had in B Bar in London, there was a chap who approached me who is a lobbyist, and he's someone who's interested in conversing with us as well. There's no more information beyond that, but we potentially we do have we do have ways to kind of get more politically involved and stuff and get more speakers and things like that.
Yeah, should be good. Sargon is not at Manchester at this time, no. He won't be. I think he is going to the Brexit March, though, if you are going there. Right. Think of the super chats for a Douglas Murray live stream. Yes, so we will be contacting a couple of I will be contacting some mainstream speakers. Who is attending? Liberalists. That's all at the moment. We don't have a guest. This is part of the reason why we are rethinking our strategy on events, because we want to be able to draw people in with not just the message, but also people who they want to talk to, who they consider to be knowledgeable on this stuff. That's the plan on that one. Regards the threads, let me see, on sort of manifesto, etc. There seems to be a push for us to do something in terms of really focusing on abolishing Section 127 of the Communications Act, or having it rewritten, and also having our own written constitution, etc., or pushing for one and trying to get a petition and that sort of thing going. So these kinds of events and these kinds of campaigns are what we are hoping to probably see discussed this weekend, so we can see what we're going to do. Let me see. In terms of the problems that we've run into in the last sort of month or so, our meetups thread has been sort of co-opted by the Libertarian Party. That wasn't fun. But we're now sort of trying to push more for our own liberalist meetups rather than libertarian meetups, because obviously we want to be furthering that. We're trying to recruit more moderators at the moment for our group, because we're down to one now, due to a number of different commitments that people have had to make. We are now also restructuring a large part of our management into more roles, not for more committees, not for more. That's personal to them, Nazrael, and I'm not at liberty to say. So we didn't throw them out, if that's what you're saying. Looking at the merch angle, would we be looking towards this so we can start placing stickers or posters? Yeah, definitely. So when we come to do campaigns, etc., we will be reaching out and trying to get people to design stuff for us and to produce stuff that we can have posted everywhere. Let me see. Get more of a public eye. Yeah, we want that. We want to encourage local liberalist meetings. We want to see what kind of common issues that exist in people's local areas, like anything from as low down as sort of potholes to other stuff. Do you guys want to go into politics? As in, do we specifically, as in the people on here, do the liberalists want to go into politics?
I guess I'd say I'm willing to, but it's not a desire. I don't want to, but I won't avoid it. Yeah.
So the Liberalists are a really small movement at the moment. Yeah. So we really want to focus on growing. One of the things that involves is doing this sort of local activism, producing these posters and leaflets, and having an online presence, and doing streams and so on and so forth. So we really want to work and try and grow that way, as well as have events and talk to people and speakers. So much work for so little result. I don't think necessarily there's been so little result. We've only held 3 meetings so far. This will be our 3rd. We've grown to 1,200 people, which for a small political group that's trying not to make the missteps that others have made. I mean, you look around and you see huge numbers of like tiny parties and that sort of things that really aren't doing anything.
It's fair to say that the way that we look at it is we're still learning how to do this. It's still a new thing for us to do. We're learning. We're figuring out what works and what doesn't. We've had 2 events that have turned out really well, but at the same time, it's fair to say the first one was advertised by a big celeb, essentially, as far as as far as YouTube's concerned, and the second one was an event that was it was a long time coming anyway, because everyone knew about the Dankula situation and so forth. So now is the time that we have to put the elbow grease in to actually make the movement grow to a level that it functions from grassroots up in a way that we don't rely on big names or anything like that. The movement itself has its own strong foundations. Now, I don't think anyone here, I think the way that I look at it, and the people that are here currently, there's quite a few people that are open to the idea of going into politics, but it's not that we necessarily want to. I know I personally am going down the path of least resistance. I'm here to put some work in and see what comes out of it. If something comes out, great. If not, whatever. But as long as we stand, by our principles and stuff, whatever happens, happens, and we'll do our best and learn and put as much into this as possible, and ensure that we get the best result where we can.
When we're talking about not alienating people, do you have something specific in mind, ZuriXX? Because we're trying very hard not to alienate people at the moment, and that would be better than getting new people to alienate. I mean, we want to get new people who we can have some principled arguments. We want the Liberalist Society toolkit. We want a sort of a general liberalist toolkit of stuff like that. It takes a long time to establish yourself as a political movement. Why get into this so much if you're not going to go into politics long term? We may be going into politics long term. It's just, it wasn't something necessarily where we will be the people. The Liberalist is going to go the distance. That's the plan. It takes a long time to do this sort of thing. If we do it properly, the chances of us getting into a general election with any kind of representation, sort of approaching UKIP or the Greens, we are looking at 20 to 40 years. That's just the way it works. It's a long slog. Particularly when it comes to local government and that sort of thing, and knowing, it's more like you get into local government and then people ask who you are and what you're standing for. It's more about that than it is about having some sort of really broad brush stuff. You need to prove that you're capable with the small stuff, which includes things like, solving local community issues and
potholes and the like.
Yeah, potholes and the like. And that may take 3 years. Unfortunately, Sargon may take UKIP in a year. Again, not confident in the internal structures of UKIP being able to be suited for a sort of a general election. If he can take UKIP in a year, fair play to him. If we become completely obsolete and another group who are completely standing on classical liberal principles can do it, fair play to them. I'm not going to stand in the way.
There's no, if anything, there's no loose scenario here. It's a case of, if one thing doesn't work from one group, then hopefully another group will get the formula right. But if everyone tries to do the same thing, it could end up just being a flash in the pan.
But also remember, they're not mutually exclusive groups. You can be part of both.
Exactly. Yeah. The way, I put it in a comment here, but the reality is, if you want to go and join another party, and also be a liberalist, they're not mutually exclusive. And I put in the chat, and I've said on a post before, Godspeed to anyone that takes our principles with them. It doesn't matter where you go, as long as you live by the principles, that's fantastic. But if there's a movement that only focuses on the principles, then at least there's somewhere that can't be tainted in the media by saying, well, they're biased to this and they're linked with this organization or that organization. No. We are about the principles, and that's where we currently want to focus. If things change later on, they change later on, but at the moment that's kind of where we're at.
It's also worth noting that as an activist organization, we can do things that political parties can't really afford to get involved in. We can call out a bit more, and we can throw punches and things. So I certainly think that this is a good opportunity for us to build our brand, and instead of trying to become a separate party, we can become something that is more widespread and has a more wide-reaching brand. And that would be the real goal.
I mean, Labour have momentum. Stamps of Racism is another organisation that isn't a political party, yet it seems to be quite a stubborn mule when it comes down to any events or anything like that, or scream outside people's houses and things like that. We're not going to do that, of course, but we're going to be there to stand by the views that we believe we should be standing by, and we're not going to be able to be sort of have mud sling at us at the same way as a party will be, because we're not there to be elected. We're there to stand by the principles.
Yeah. Momentum is 3 years old, has 40,000 members, and they would be hard pressed for 10% of those to be properly active, although the rest of them do pay their subscription fee and pay to be in the Labour Party, interestingly. We will be studying Momentum, things like UK Uncut before it went under, that sort of thing, to look at what successful political movements have done in the past and how. A lot of it stems from having really fanatically principled people, because they are principled, even if they're not our principles, fanatically obsessed people with this sort of stuff. And we're sort of trying to find our group of people who are doing that as well. We're hoping that these campaigns that we're planning on doing, again, we will have more information for you in next week, hopefully, that this will bring those people to the fore, who are going to be those people who really get things going in terms of sort of consistent local activism. Let me see. So let's talk about that. Talked about that sort of thing, because aside from things like people talking about things like Brexit and Brexit needs to be done and that sort of thing, and you're talking about how we can support something like Brexit. So we may look at how we can support a candidate who's really interested in basically making it happen, MOG and that sort of thing. At the same time, we need to be focusing on local issues as well, because those are the ones that are going to speak to people, because most people don't really engage with politics. So you need to sort of find the balance of where people are going to engage with you and why.
The way that we're looking at it at the moment is we have to look at the grassroots level and why people engage in politics, and how to get people interested in us, where we're going to get reps and the local level and so forth. But it's also our legacy, which is where the university side of things comes in. So even if we don't currently have an MP or whatever in a certain area, that doesn't mean that we can't have society set up to ensure that we have a future as well from that aspect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Does anyone have any further questions? Because I'm out of question-based material here. I love how the rest of my panel says nothing here as well. That's great.
And Nazriel, it's not a matter of identified sabotage. It's just that is something that could happen when somebody in UKIP sees people coming in. They may choose to hold on to their positions in any way they can. It really is a great unknown, and we're happy for people to try, and we want to hear about your success in UKIP if you decide to go there. That we would love to hear about it, and if you do make big changes, then maybe we can look into that. But at this point in time, just because UKIP isn't even set up in a way that it really interacts properly with the elective system in the UK, it isn't actually a viable option for creating change in the way that the other parties are. Not that we're suggesting you go to one of the other parties.
Cool. Well, with that, I think we're going to bring things to a close. Relatively short one this time, but as I say, look forward to seeing more of these in the future. We were hoping to run one again end of next month, and we will again be talking to you about what we're doing and what we've done, what we want to do, basically to keep us there.
I'll say also, Clement Down said earlier about like a group Skype chat. If you want to do that with us, just message one of us or post on the page or something. I'm sure I can speak on behalf of all of us here that we would love to do that discussion with you about anything.
Yeah, absolutely. How's the website coming along? It's gone down just
For
yesterday for now, but we're bringing it up again. Just a couple of technical issues at the moment. All right. I'm an American. I don't know if you want me. You are welcome. Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, of course we do.
Yeah, you're welcome. And happy to see you. There you go. Don't want to interfere, but your opinion is welcome, obviously. Take care. All right.
See you later, guys.
Till next time.
Take care, everyone.